I used to blush up to my ears every time I had to speak in front of people. My hands would get sweaty and shaky, my mind would go completely blank, and my heart would pound like it was about to jump out of my chest. But something is changing. I'm learning how to speak with confidence, and I want to bring you along as I figure it out. Because maybe what I learn is going to help you too. Welcome to Step Into Your Voice, a podcast for women and business moms who are ready to stop dimming their light and start showing up with courage, clarity, and confidence. I am your host, Nina Makariam, and this video isn't how to from an expert point of view. This is me just documenting what I am learning on this journey that I am right now in order to become a better speaker. So, what I'm doing is I am attending a series of speaking workshops, and I'm going to share with you the exact techniques that I am practicing, what's working for me, what is not yet working, and what I'm doing to get better. So, if you've ever felt nervous or unsure before speaking, this video is for you. Everything started the day I got back from my summer vacation. I attended the first speaking workshop. I think it was called She Speaks. I had no idea who the trainer was, but I signed up for that workshop because I decided this is the best moment for me to start practicing and learn more about speaking. I think we were like 20 women in that room. It was an amazing workshop. We had the opportunity to introduce ourselves, and the feedback I got was that I got lost in the details. We had to speak for 3 minutes. And that was so surprising to me because I'm one of those people who doesn't use a lot of words. I'm usually very concise, but somehow then I felt the need to fill out that time that we had, and I rumbled and I was not able to focus on what was important. And so I shared my feedback that, hey, I really want to do more of these. I want to practice more. And then this lady who hosted the workshop told me that she has a WhatsApp community, and if I want to be part of it, she's going to run some challenges and she's going to do these workshops. And I said, okay, sign me up. She also has a one-to-one program where she works with you one-on-one, but I think I'm learning more when I'm in a small group. This is my favorite way of learning, and maybe the next step is going to be to get some one-on-one sessions, but for now I really feel good with this smaller group setting. If you too are feeling that you no longer want to stay on the sidelines anymore, then follow me, follow this journey, and start implementing what I'm sharing here because I believe it's going to be helpful. I knew that I was ready to take action. And when I joined this series of workshops, I had no idea what to expect. All I knew it was that I'm ready. This is the best time for me to do this, to start practicing. So in the first workshop, we did some exercises for the group to get to know us a little bit, just to get the flow moving. And then we had to come up with a word. We had to pick a word and then create a story around it. And we had to talk for 3 minutes. So, this is what I'm going to challenge you to do today. Just pick a random word and then set a timer and create a story. I think the guidelines were that you had to share something from the past, something from the present, and then something related to the future, if I remember correctly. And even though we had a little bit of time to come up with a story, I didn't feel good about it. I rambled, I was not coherent, but I moved on. Then the second exercise was to come up with a new speech. This time we could use our area of expertise, but the speech had to include these three things. We had to engage the audience, then we had to share the core content or message, and finally, the transformation that we want to create in our audience. This could be some takeaways or a desire, basically a call to action for the audience so they can live with that and take it home, think about it, and start implementing it. The good thing was that after our speech, we are also getting feedback from the participants. At this stage, we are only getting good feedback. We are not getting feedback in regards to things we can improve, but sometimes after you finish, you know what you could have done better. And this positive feedback helps us focus on the things that we can control. It's a little reminder that, hey, we can do good things. I think at this stage it's helpful to only get the positive feedback because we are not yet that confident. And I think that some honest feedback on the things that we have to improve is going to crush our confidence. So I think that once we build this confidence, then we can get honest feedback. I attended the second workshop and we started with a recap of what we did during the first workshop. And we had to come up with a new speech, but this time we added a new layer. And the novelty in the second workshop was that we had to include either a story or an analogy. And I think a story is always easier to use, especially when we talk about our expertise. I shared my story of when I started to work with my first client, with my first podcast pitching client. I was very new and I was just taking a course and I sent the first round of pitches and then I got the first no. To me, that really, really shook my confidence. I took it very, very personally. I made it worse than it really was because it was the first round of pitches and I should have been grateful because I got an answer, but to me it was devastating. I thought, oh my God, I'm not good at doing this. Why did I started this? What am I doing here? I even waited for 2 days until I told my client about it. But luckily, she is a podcaster and she knows how these things work. I mean, there is not enough time on your calendar to say yes to all the people pitching you when you are a podcaster. I now know that, but back then I thought that everybody had to say yes. So she was very sweet and very kind, and she told me, hey, that's fine, let's just keep moving, send more pitches next week, and also send some follow up emails. And then we finally got a yes, and I was so excited. That really restored that confidence. And then after a year, I also got her on one of the podcasts on her top 5 list. And I was so, so happy for her. And I think that was possible because I exchanged multiple emails with that podcast host and her team. And one of the things that we did was not to quit. We were in touch with them. We were up to date to what the podcaster was doing. So I was able to include those details in the pitch. And I think this way she was able to get that spot. So I shared this story, and then I realized the thing that I didn't do great was that I missed engaging the audience. And I think the problem is that I'm still very conscious of myself. I'm still focusing on myself, how I sound, what do I have to say next? Am I doing this right? Sometimes it's very easy to have a framework to think about, but then I think we can also fall into this trap where everything has to fit that framework. You cannot get out of that box. And I feel sometimes it can be constrictive. I'm not sure if this is the right word, but it's like if you are putting too much effort in following a certain order, then you may not do a very good job as opposed to just going with the flow. So in this case, my biggest lesson, even though I already knew this lesson, this idea, is that I have to focus on the audience instead of focusing on myself. And I feel that somehow I have clarity around this idea, but sometimes it's so difficult to implement when you are paying so much attention to the words you are saying and you want to do everything right. So I need to practice more until everything that I'm gonna say is gonna come from the heart instead of being very cognitive about every single word that I'm gonna say next. And the last thing that I learned, it was a technique on how to calm yourself down and be present on stage. And you can use this too before recording a video. It doesn't necessarily have to be before an in person presentation or in person speech. You can do this for virtual talks as well. So, this includes taking a moment to think of a sweet, very dear memory, a time in your life when you felt amazing, when you accomplished something huge, a moment you are very, very proud of. Just hold on to that feeling and that memory. It's so important to bring that memory to the present time. And then when you embody that feeling, that memory, you are going to relax your body, and this is going to give you a boost of confidence. So the next step is just to relax, take a few deep breaths if you need to do so, and relax your body. The next step is to imagine how you are going to do during your speech. So you need to imagine that you are getting all the good vibes, all the good energy, not only from your audience, but you are also pouring into them all this good energy, all the good vibes. They are captivated, they are paying attention to what you're saying, they are communicating with you. So you need to imagine how amazing your presentation is going to be so that when you finally get on stage or when you finally start to record an interview, you can share that energy. You can spread it to that room. Obviously, this is still new to me. I'm still practicing this. I feel this is like learning how to drive a gear car. I'm driving one. Initially, when I had to do this, you have to remember about the seatbelt, the gear, the brakes, all the things. And now, after so many years, I do this automatically. I don't have to think about this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. But now, with this technique, I need to remember what I do first and what I do second, third. But I'm sure that the more I'm going to practice it, the more it's going to become a routine that I'm not going to think about it consciously. I'm going to do this on an automatic pilot. Hopefully, one day I will get there. And then another thing that I loved yesterday, it was that usually before our 3-minute presentation, I mean, yesterday we didn't time the presentation, but we have a few minutes to jot down some ideas to make a plan. And what I loved is that this sweet young lady didn't wrote anything. She came in front of us and she just started speaking, and that was to me so inspiring. And I hope to get to this point, because one thing that I've always thought about myself is that I'm not spontaneous. I don't know what to do in front of unexpected situations. So who knows when I will be on a stage unexpectedly and I will have to say something, obviously something that's meaningful and that's going to resonate with the audience. But again, I think that you can do this if you rehearse enough, obviously, if you know what you are talking, and then you get to that point where you can share something at any time without having to practice before or have a plan in front of you. And now, as I'm saying this, I also remembered that I went to an event in London, and one of the speakers who lives in Dubai now, and she's going to do a TEDx talk, I think in the spring, I'm not sure when exactly, but she shares on Instagram how she practiced this talk. She practiced this talk every single day. Like if she's going on a walk, she goes with her cards and she rehearsed. She shared how she went to have her nails done, and she shared her talk with that lady. And yes, I think preparation is very important, but then also you have to be ready when things will go in an unexpected way, and you need to be prepared for that too. I feel that when you rehearsed enough, then you can go off the cuff. I'm still at the stage where I need to rehearse, and most of all, I feel great because I'm seeing progress. I'm still not doing a good job at engaging the audience. I freeze a little bit when I need to make it interactive, but I've also see how far I've come, and I'm celebrating that. A few months ago, I would avoided speaking in front of an audience, and now I am excited to practice. I am so ready for the next level where I feel I need to focus on speaking with more clarity and presence. And I'm aware that as long as I'm going to show up, I'm going to grow. So, if you are watching this and you think that's me, I'm so nervous, I want you to know that's okay. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from taking small, imperfect action steps, and you have to start with one brave moment and then just keep going, keep going, keep going. I realized that there were different moments that led me to this specific moment in time where I felt, okay, now is the best time for me to start speaking in person, because up until now, everything that I did was virtual. So I took courses. I am meeting with my bestie every single week, almost every single week, and that's also really helpful. Even though she mainly does the talking, I'm a good listener. I also did a few challenges. For example, in March, I interviewed, I think, 22 or 23 women. So Monday through Friday every week, I interviewed an inspirational woman on Instagram. I also did another challenge in a small Voxer group. So I found ways to put myself out there and to get comfortable in front of camera. And then once I did that, I felt the next step for me is to do in-person speaking. And I'm starting in this small group. I really love it because it's small. We are at the same level. We are our own worst critics, but we learn to get better. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey with me. I will keep sharing what I'm learning so we can grow together as speakers, as storytellers, as women in business who want to use their voice to make a bigger impact in this world. See you next week.